Welcome to Bible Bedtime Stories for Kids. The story of Abraham and the three visitors. A very long time ago, there was a man named Abraham who loved and trusted God with all his heart. He and his wife Sarah were very old and didn't have any children. But God had made Abraham a promise. One day he would have a very big family, as many as the stars in the sky, and as many as the sand in the sea. Can you think of how many stars or how many sand particles you can count? God promised Abraham so many. Abraham believed God, even though it seemed impossible. He and Sarah were old already, and they didn't have any children yet. One hot day, Abraham was sitting at the entrance of his tent trying to stay cool with a breeze. As he looked out, he saw three strange men standing nearby. Abram didn't know who they were, but he hurried to greet them. "Please, come rest here," Abraham said. "You must be tired from your journey. Let me bring you some food and water." The men agreed. So Abraham rushed back to Sarah in the tent and said, "Quick, bake some bread. We have special guests." Then Abraham ran to his servants and told them to prepare a delicious meal of meat, butter, and milk. He brought the food to the visitors and stood nearby as they ate under the shade of a tree. After they finished eating, one of the visitors said something amazing. He looked at Abraham and said, "Where is your wife Sarah?" Abraham pointed toward the tent. "She's inside," he said. Then the visitor said, "Next year, I will come back to you, and by then, Sarah will have a baby son." Abraham was surprised. But inside the tent, Sarah was even more surprised. She had been listening, and when she heard this, she laughed to herself. "How can I have a baby? I'm too old," she thought. But the visitor, who was really God in disguise, knew what Sarah was thinking. He asked, "Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord?" When Sarah realized that this was God, and that he had heard her thoughts, she was a little embarrassed. "I didn't laugh," she said. But God smiled and replied, "Yes, you did." And just as God had promised, a year later, Sarah gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. They named him Isaac, which means laughter, because Sarah and Abraham were so joyful they couldn't stop smiling and laughing. It was a reminder that God always keeps his promises, no matter how impossible they may seem. The story of Abraham and Sarah reminds us that nothing is too hard for God. Even when they seem impossible, we can trust that God loves us and will keep his promises.